I wouldn't mind if my friends and family knew about my fetish.
Just for friends and family, I definitely agree that I don't have a problem with them knowing because all of my friends and family basically already know. I came out to my mom as a Spanko with Jillian's video, and my friends have known before I knew probably because I used to write little stories in school and almost always they had spanking in them. And my friends would just read them and they wouldn't say a thing. So they already, and when I came out to them, they were like, yeah. And so at this point, I completely agree. I don't have a problem with my friends and family knowing.
There's really not a time that I was more miserable in my life than when I was trying to hide who I am. And that's always been an issue, like not only as a Spanko, but other things that I've been through or that I like. So I made a conscious choice at one point in my life where I'm an open book. If people ask me, I will tell. If not, it's fine. The book is still there. They can read it when they want, or if they don't want it, they can just ignore it. And it's been a very liberating experience for me that all of my friends, like literally every single one of my friends that genuinely care about me, know this about me. For my family, it's been more difficult because some of them are more old-fashioned. Some of them don't understand the other branches of sexuality outside of the regular that most people know. But those that know, those that have actually bothered to know more about me, understand this. And it's been an incredible.
The fact is, my best vanilla friends know about my fetish. Part of my family knows about my fetish. And this is what I am. This is not just part of what I am. And this is my sexual orientation. And the gay community make a great job showing the world that there's a lot of forms to love, a lot of forms to live the sexuality, and our is one of these forms. It's one of these forms to live the sexuality, our orientation. But like this video and all the videos that we saw and all the website are showing the world that we exist, that we are here, and we deserve to live our fetish. But I have a little bit afraid that the people that I love, like my husband or my kids, can suffer like the consequences of a world who has like the inability to accept other forms to live. Can I say again without crying?
You're just so eloquent, and everything you said just like resonates with me so much. And just seeing you cry, I just want to hug you. Like you're right. Jillian's right. We've all been through this. Like no one wants their family to get hurt or anything because people aren't accepting. Sometimes it's hard to be alone when you don't know there's other people like you.
Me and my own comfortability, I'm perfectly fine with anybody knowing. I am who I am, that's never going to change. But that doesn't take away the reality of how people knowing affects your life. And there are people in my family, like my father, my brother, friends who I've known my majority of my life, even some of my cousins, like they know. But other people in my family would judge me. They might even like cut me out. Like there are people who wouldn't understand. And the knowledge of that is very, like it hurts to know that that would happen. So, and also I like to think that this part of my life, though it is a part of me, it is who I am, is also very personal and private. Not everybody needs to know, as much as I would like to just be open and be like, who gives a crap? I'm a Spanko, accept that shit. But like I also like to think this is a part of my sexuality. I don't necessarily need to tell my mom, this is what I like to do. Like, you know, so in that, regard, it's very difficult. It always has been, I think, for a lot of us in some ways or others. But that's why I only say slightly agree for me.
As long as I have the choice of which friends and family know, then I completely agree. If it was like the information just was out there, then I probably would be on the other side. But like just how I interpreted it is if I'm the one who gets to say and gets to choose who knows and who I'm comfortable with knowing, then I completely am fine with them knowing.
I have been lucky enough to tell most of my family and friends, and everyone has been maybe not always completely understanding, but they've been supportive. And last year, I ended up coming out to about 15 people in the space of a couple weeks, and it was actually really wonderful. And several people said to me they could see a difference in me, and that I was finally my full self. And they could see that it was just such a positive thing for me to be able to be experiencing it and to be open about it. So I hope for that for everybody who can come out. I'll just add that I'm still wearing a mask, obviously, because I am it's still a difference between my friends and family and being on a video on YouTube. And in fact, one of my family members got very nervous when I said that I was going to be in a video, and she was just really wanting me to wear a mask. So I thought, yeah, that's fine. And then I haven't told anybody at my job, so I don't feel like they need to know. So that not everybody needs to know. It's a private thing. So yeah.
On one hand, if I could just like fiat into existence all my friends and family knowing and not judging me and accepting me, I would definitely push that button. That would be awesome. But I really don't like the idea of people thinking about me differently or judging me because of something I can't control. And I feel like that has been the reality. Sometimes people do. I think it affects the way they think about me, and I wish it didn't. But maybe someday.
The fact that I'm strongly agree. That's a personal thing. That's only for me and for no one else. In my case, my situation is way more simple than that of a lot of people. Like, my kind of employment doesn't really affect what my lifestyle is. So there is no problem with me being open with who I am. My family is a little bit more open-minded in certain things, close-minded in others. And I've gotten to the point where I, as a person, have found a way to separate those who I would actually care about if they have an issue with it versus those who I think I will be perfectly fine if they have an issue with. I can just be myself on my own without thinking of their judgment. But I know perfectly well that this is not the case for everyone, as we've probably seen by now here. It's something that affects the very core of our social existence. Some have mentioned that just that feeling of being judged by those around you is something that affects you at all times. And that's the core of being human.
The Spanko scene is welcoming to neurodivergent people.
Unless you know someone is neurodivergent, oftentimes people are averse to something that they see as weird or off-putting or that they don't understand. And so it's easy for some people, depending on which part of the community you're in, to get written off or not included or for various reasons. And I've seen it happen. And every time I do, it breaks my heart. And it's like, I love that when people do realize something, they're like, oh, and like they're more open-minded and they like hear people out. And I feel like the community is full of neurodivergent people, but there is a range within that. And not all people who are neurodivergent are accepted immediately with open arms. And because of that, and I know like it's not only in like a neurodiverse thing, like we as people, it's hard to accept things that feel off to us, but because people who have neurodivergency, like you can't control who you are just as much as you can't control your spanking fetishist. And I just wish that not only in our community, but in general, people were more educated about neurodivergence and how that affects you as a person and how that affects how you socialize and how that affects connectivity amongst people. And if we had more of that, I feel like there would be more instances of people being welcoming than judgmental.
I agree entirely with you, and that's why I'm on slightly agree. The only reason that I shifted a little bit to this side is because it depends on what neurodivergency it is in a lot of cases. So let's say it was like ADHD. That one probably could like fit into you being, like if you are like more hyperactive, then that could play into you being brattier or just like not being able to sit still. But then if it were something more like, I will use, for example, bipolar disorder. If you go into a bit of a lower mood and all of a sudden you're like quiet or you're irritable and you snap at people, that doesn't mean that you're bratting. That means that you are upset. And so sometimes it gets misconstrued. So I think that there needs to be more conversations. I believe people need to discuss the differences in how neurodivergency plays into fetishism. It's spanking fetishism and like how specific people want their neurodivergency to be played into fetishism.
To piggyback off what you said, I think that I'm in the agree, not strongly agree, but the agree because at least the parties I've been to, which have all been KOL parties, there's that talk at the beginning of the party of what's a limit. And I think there's more talk. I remember going to one party where a bottom was saying that an eye roll was a tick of hers and not bratting, and that she did not appreciate being like punished for something like that, to be engaged in a role play for something, for doing that. I thought that was really cool, that the top was really, I remember the top saying something along the lines of, oh, I didn't realize that was a tick, I'll make sure to look out for that. So I think it's really important that people are accepting of limits, and to recognize that a lot of limits come from neurodivergency is a very important conversation.
I am someone who struggles a lot with emotions. I feel very intensely and have mood swings from one second to another. And one of the things that I've always appreciated from people that I've met through KOL, people that I've met through the spanking scene, is that everyone has always been incredibly accepting of that. I've mentioned it to them, like everyone here has heard it from me at some point before. And one thing that I appreciate a lot is that ever since I mentioned it, people check on me very often. Like before scene, after scene, even when I'm not even playing, just it helps you empathize a little bit more with others. And it can be a problem sometimes when it's not discussed properly, but in my experience, like we've had that openness from the very start, and it's something I appreciate a lot.
So I think in general, the BDSM and Spanko community is a welcoming place for people that are neurodiverse. And part of that is the structure that is inherent in like the negotiations and how just like constantly asking for consent and how the entire play is structured. I do think there's ways that the community could do better. For example, like in my local BDSM community, they have a lot of munches that are not based around restaurants or bars or cafes. Because I know we were talking that was something that hindered people that might have social anxiety or be on the autism spectrum, like being in a louder bar or a restaurant setting or cafe setting is difficult for some people. Like it's a challenge and it's loud and it's noisy. And just because of size and amount of organizers, my local BDSM community has been able to have alternative types of munches, such as like an outdoor and kinky munch where they go stand-up paddleboarding, or they go canoeing and kayaking or hiking, and they have a like monthly board game and crafternoon, which is amazing, and it's so much fun to go to. And I did get one of my fellow spankos here to join me for that, which was really fun. And just like people brought their knitting and crochet and cross-stitch projects, and everyone was having a really good time. And that is a like much easier environment to meet people in than say like a restaurant or, you know, just a place where it's noisy and louder. So I think the Spanko community can do better, but a lot of that is due to organization, and like it's hard to set up munches and to set up parties. Like it takes so much effort. So yes, like I think we can do better, but I think it's also very difficult, and I appreciate all the people that set up munches and set up other events.